The industry needs writers. They need you. You are needed. Your screenplay is needed. You've just got to write it. So how do you get your novel or your story idea to look like this, which is what it needs to look like to be a screenplay? This one I found just to make it easier to read. I was a script reader for 2 years and I read well over 200 screenplays. So I've read good ones and bad ones. And whatever they're like, they're easy to read if they're bound. Nowadays we do everything digitally most of the time as writers, but it's still, I think, a lot easier sometimes just to have the thing in your hot little hand. So we'll be looking at how do you format your screenplays. That'll be one of the first videos. It's not difficult, it's really not complicated. I'm in the process at the moment of adapting one of my novels for a screenplay. The one I'm adapting is this one here, The Winter Witch, and I'm really enjoying the process. I'm going to talk to you about how the structure differs, how the dialogue differs, the pros and cons. Is it easier to write a screenplay? Is it easier to write a book? What different things do they demand of a writer? One of the things I think that puts people off having a go at writing a film is that it seems to be very complicated and there are so many different terms and so many secrets that are being put there almost to stop us having a go. Well, it is incredibly difficult to get a film made. It's incredibly difficult to get a TV series off the ground, but it does happen. And you know what? Things are getting easier. There are so many platforms now. There are so many studios. There are so many places that aren't even original studios like Netflix and Amazon and who knows what else is going to come before I've even got this video made. There are lots and lots of different ways to get your work on the screen now, so why not have a go? If you've fancied writing a screenplay and been a bit nervous about it, then this will be the place for you, because we are going to look at the beginner elements of putting together a screenplay, whether it's an adaptation or an original screenplay. We're going to look at ways that you can then go out and about with your work. How do you protect your work? People worry about that. They think their ideas are going to be stolen. So we could look at that. We're going to look at competitions and different ways that you can get a start with your screenplays. But really most of it is going to be about how to write your first screenplay, whether it's an adaptation from a book or whether it's an original story that you have. And one of the things we're going to look at is how do you know you've got enough story to make a whole screenplay, and we'll look at some examples of that. I think the main thing though that I want to concentrate for this little video is just this. This is what a screenplay looks like, okay? It's not really mysterious and complicated. And the people get very unglued about the idea of using complicated software, and they're worried that they won't be able to do it, and they're worried that they won't be able to know how to format their work. Do you know what? It's the easiest bit. It's really, you can learn it in an afternoon and then you've got it, and you never have to worry about it again. Don't let that put you off. Screenplays themselves are not difficult. It's making your story work. And all good films start with a brilliant script. You can make a bad movie out of a good script if you give it to all the wrong people, but you can never make a good movie out of a bad script. The industry needs writers. They need you. You are needed. Your screenplay is needed. You've just got to write it, and write it well, and put all that passion and vision into that story that you can. And then people will look at it and good stuff will rise to the top and you will get your film made eventually. I think if getting a novel published is a really big mountain to climb, getting a screenplay made is probably a whole Andean range of mountains that are waiting for you. And it's a long process. It takes longer than a book too, and it's more collaborative, which is nice because you're not doing it all on your own, but it's also more challenging in a lot of ways. Okay, so we'll be looking at all those different aspects. So just to kick it off, let's have a look at favourite adaptations of books. As readers, we're inclined to say the book is always better than the film. Can you think of an example where you think the film was better than the book, or at least as good as the book? So put that in the comments below. Let's have a little chat about that. Which adaptation did you really enjoy? And I'll have lots of ideas for activities for you for your screenwriting, be answering your questions about the dreaded formatting, but about all the other things as well. What's the difference between a pitch and a log line and an outline and a treatment? all those sorts of things. And I'll talk you through the process of what I'm doing when I'm writing my screenplays, whether it's an adaptation or an original screenplay. An original screenplay just means a story that was written originally for the screen, that it wasn't adapted from a book. Oh, it's upside down. So it wasn't adapted from a book. Right, okay. An adaptation is one that is taken from a book and turned into a film. An original screenplay is a story that was written originally for the screen. And guess what? They may end up as books. It's not uncommon to have a book of the film that came after the film. But it is much more common to start with a book. In fact, I think it's something like 75% of all films that you see were once books. They started life as books. So an original screenplay is quite an unusual thing. So some of these videos will look at the difference between adaptations and original screenplays. And how do you know if your idea is better as a screenplay or a book? That's a good one. We'll be looking at some of that. Okay. The other thing is some of the terminology and jargon surrounding films. There's a lot of mystery sort of swirling about, and I think it's not really done to make you feel like you're stupid and that you can't be a part of it and you don't know what's going on, but it's helpful to understand it, and I will help you with looking at some of the books that I think are really good on things like formatting your screenplay and getting used to all the industry terms and things like that. But for instance, just to take one, what does it mean if your book is optioned? So this series of books that I've written has been optioned with possible TV or film rights at the end of that option. So we'll try and unravel some of those mysteries. Do you know what an option means? Do you know what it means to have your book optioned? So if you really want to write your first screenplay, don't forget to like this one, subscribe, press on the little bell notification thingamajigamy so you know when I put more videos like this up. Let me know in the comments what sort of things you would like to see in further videos on screenwriting, and I'll try and see if I can address those. Share it with your friends if you think anyone might find it helpful. But have a really good think between now and the next time I do one of these videos, who knows when that will be, about which story that you've got in your head that you would really like to write as a screenplay. Now it could be that it's a short story, it could be something you've already written as a book, but have a good think so that you know when we start to have these conversations and these little videos, which story is it that you're thinking of, and we'll see if we can't turn that into one of these.
Dwedwch fawr iawn o wybodaeth o ba beth y gwneud bwyd hiraeth a pha ddefnydd a roed ynddo na dderfyddwr ddiwisgo derfydd